my computer. There we go. All right. Well, thanks for joining tonight, everybody. We're going to have, I guess, a nice intimate chat this evening. I'll be the host. My name's Kaley. I'm a brewer at Big Rig Brewery in Ottawa. And we're just going to be doing this kind of casual Q&A style chat with Amber. I have some questions that I've come up with, and I mean, there's only a few of us, so if you have questions along the way, feel free to chip in or put it in the chat. We can save it for the end, whatever you'd like. Amber, thanks for doing this.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So Amber's joining us from Winnipeg. She owns her own business where she does all things marketing, design, client experience, and brand related. So I won't dive into it too much. I'll let Amber tell us more, but I'm super excited to learn more about your work and especially talk about the Canada Beer Cup and the new packaging award, which is coming up quick.
Sure is, yeah.
Yeah. So why don't you just tell us a bit about yourself, your background, kind of how you got to where you are now?
You sure? Yeah.
All of that.
All of that. So, yeah, I'm from Winnipeg. I have always been here in Winnipeg. I've been designing for over 20 years now, which feels absolutely crazy to me. I started straight out of college doing billboards and outdoor advertising for a bunch of years, moved on to national nonprofit for a couple of years. And then I kind of, at that point, flipped more into the marketing world of things. So I worked for actually an international company that makes a specific type of paper that has seeds in it and flowers grow out of it. So anyways, it was super cool, but it really allowed me to grow as a marketer as well. So it was interesting to explore that branch of work. From there, I worked for another national company. I've just sort of been really poking around with these national companies throughout my career. So yeah, I worked for a national jeweler for a few years and then for women's clothing for the 8 years before I decided to just branch off on my own. And it'll be 2 years ago this fall, I did that. So I started my own little agency here based out of my little studio here in my house. And I'm super excited. I get to work with amazing clients, both across Canada and into Mexico and the US, with a wide range of things that they do. But I think what's been super, super exciting is this like branch off into the beer world that it allows me to explore as well. So yeah, there's always really exciting things happening here in my day. Just all the different things that I get to work on. So yeah, it's really exciting.
Cool. Congrats on your almost 2-year anniversary coming up.
Yeah.
Billboard sounds tricky, I would think, as a
Yeah.
marketing medium because it's just like
It's
your
so
one shot, just like bam,
fast.
there it is.
Every salesperson at that billboard company has a different number as far as like the number of seconds you have to consume a billboard. Some said 2 to 3, some said 7, some
Yeah.
said 12. But regardless, it was really fast. So yes, it was
Mm.
a really interesting spot to start my career because it wasn't just billboards either. It was like transit and mall ads and all sorts of different mediums that had to be translated to. So yeah, it was a really great space to start my career. And it started as a small team and it grew to be, I think, 11 of us.
Wow.
So it was, yeah, it was a growing spot. It was interesting. It was really, really fun. And I got to be on a billboard for cookies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Designing and modeling.
Yeah, designing and modeling. Yeah. My
Nice.
parents were really happy they got me braces as a kid.
Oh, there you go. Were the cookies good?
The cookies were delightful.
Okay, well, I guess you kind of already mentioned or maybe touched on my next question, but I was going to ask what some of your favorite projects that you've worked on have been, but I don't know how anything could be cookies.
Well, cookies are great. Cookies were super fun. I got to work with Booster Juice and Tim Hortons um, on a couple campaigns that they did um, with the women's clothing brand. I got to do really fun things with their website. So that was kind of the area of expertise for me. So helping to um, improve the user flow on their website, which is sounds really nerdy, but just really different fun things. Especially like I love the holidays in particular. So um, there was a very specific quiz that I worked on actually that was super successful and worked really well. And it was super fun for the customers to put together and do and answer some questions. And this quiz generated holiday outfits for them. So it was just super fun and playful and really, really just it was a learning experience. It was just a giant project, but to have the idea and see it come to fruition was a really, really amazing project to get to work on. So yeah, those are a couple of my favorites. Um, yeah, I would say those are the standouts right now.
Yeah, it must be fun to kind of branch out and get that like customer interaction aspect of it.
Yes, it's one of the things that I love the most about what I get to do.
Mhm.
I love helping brands and businesses, I guess, see their potential. Like, to to most businesses, I would say that I interact with, they know what they offer, but I think they're so exposed to it, they're so used to it, they kind of don't see it with like I guess I offer fresh eyes to them in terms of how they could see it and that outside perspective um on just like how their customer, how the user how will see and will interact with their brand, with their website, with their advertising, with their marketing, and different things that they can talk about that they might be like, oh, we didn't think that was a big deal, but to me as a potential customer, it really is, and it's something worth talking about. So I don't know, it's one of my favorite things I get to do is kind of look at those interactions and help them
Mm,
happen.
nice. Yeah, super valuable for a company to have that insight.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really fun. I love it. I love thinking about it that way.
Okay, let's kind of talk in my world now, craft beer
Yeah.
specific.
Yes.
I'm curious about what kind of trends you're seeing in the marketing and design world. My disclaimer is that is like so not my wheelhouse when it comes to beer. I think like of brewing, the most difficult thing I can imagine is like picking a name for a brew. And that's just
Hey,
the beginning.
that's a big thing though. That's so important.
Yeah, it's fun, but it can be difficult. Um, so yeah, what are you kind of seeing out there? And are there noticeable differences across the provinces? Like if you're working with kind of West Coast versus East Coast, or
Mhm.
like city versus more rural? I guess Canada's so big and broad.
It is. Yes, it is.
Yes,
And I will
this is
say
a
my
fact.
yes, but you know what I will say, so one of the things I see a lot lately is geometric shapes, like geometric shapes, colorful, obviously, in a lot of cans, but I just like design wise specifically, the ones that come to mind that I see are definitely bright. Um, hmm, then as I think about this, I'm like, well, maybe not. But anyways, um, there's a little bit of everything always going on, I would say. But I think what I love seeing is um, designs that have a bit of a backstory to them that are inspired. Um, and really catch your eye. And it can be vintage inspired, it can be modern or a modern take on vintage. I see a lot of that actually happening, I think, with um, a lot of breweries kind of establishing their sort of everyday beer, I would say, like a standard, like a lager sort of style. Um, the inspiration being taken from the classic cans of a standard lager that you'd see on a major brewery, like a large commercial scale, I guess, like inspired by those vintage cans that everyone kind of knows. I've seen a bunch of those, which I think are all done uniquely. I haven't seen one that has looked identical to another one. I love everyone's interpretation of it and how um, it offers you, like the customer would know what they're getting by looking at it, but know they're getting an elevated and better version of it, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I can, as
so
you're saying these are the local ones are all popping into my mind. Yeah.
right. I
I like
love,
the return to the classic styles, especially
yeah,
in like what can be like a very busy beer shelf sometimes. It's like
yes,
maybe now that's what's catching your eye is the
yeah,
more like the simplicity of some of the labels.
exactly. And that is actually one of the criteria for the Canada Beer Cup is shelf presence in what we're looking at with the designs that come in. Um, so yeah, I would say those inspired designs, but to your point though, like the name of the beer from the sake of a designer, um, if you've got a story behind what you name your beer, then it's the designer interpretation of it. So whether it's, I'm trying not to name names specifically because I don't want to feel anyone to feel if they're submitting designs to the Canada Beer Cup that there's a bias, but um, I'm familiar with what I'm familiar with, I guess. But um, if there's a story to the brand, it's like no matter what the design looks like, it's really great to see so many breweries just embracing the story and making something amazing of it.
Yeah, love that. Um, okay, so based on what we were just kind of talking about or what you covered with craft beer, um, I was wondering how that compares to some of the other beverage industries. So
Mm.
like cider or wine, for example. Obviously, I mean, very obvious how different it is just looking at those things on shelves. But I feel like there's a big spectrum in each of their own industries. So what are you kind of seeing there across these different groups of
I,
beverages?
I'll say, like, I'm not as familiar with with cider and wine as much
Mhm.
as beer, which, that said, I mean, I go to our liquor stores here and I peruse around and and just look, and I will 100% buy a bottle of wine based on how nice the label looks.
Yeah, I
Um,
definitely do that with wine.
so I would say with wine in general, the labels are still pretty traditional. Like I think, there's some that branch out a little different and there's some that definitely look more modern than others or whatever it may be. But um I would say that wine, in my opinion, still looks pretty traditional as far as it goes, whereas cider, I think cider lends itself more towards the beer direction, not as bright and not as busy, I would say. But then again, I'm not super familiar with cider as I am with beer. But and I'm actually retracting that statement because I'm thinking of some cider specifically that have quite busy cans. But I think it's all, when it comes to design, it's interpreting the story behind it and the brand. So
Hmm.
I would say that 100% matches to the beer industry, whether you're looking at a bottle of wine that's branded with Snoop Dogg on it and it's got his vibe to things, or um or cider that's, maybe it's in how it's made, if it's naturally like, if the processes are more natural, or yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So I think while they are all different, I think they're all being inspired in the same way.
Yeah. And you kind of mentioned this, I guess, both when we were talking about beer and wine and cider now. Um, but do you have an opinion on the advantages or disadvantages of bottles versus cans when it comes to like specifically to marketing and design? Do you find like is there a difference? Is the one superior for some reason?
I I don't know that I would say one is superior. I think in terms of a label, um, I've seen a bit more, mm, I think it's different areas of creativity, I think. So I don't think one's more superior than the other, but they're because of how different they are, like with a a wine or cider label, you might have more freedom to say, do what's called a die cut along the edge of it, right? Or create a unique shape, or do a circular label, or do a specific cut, or something that's a little different with your label at its core. Whereas a beer can, you're pretty limited to the shape, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, whereas the different like label papers can have different sheens and finishes on them and stuff like that. You could get the same thing on a bottle. You could be more like you could, I don't know, that I wouldn't say one is superior to the other, but um I think they both have their advantages and disadvantages, and they all start from a blank slate, right? So it's all how creative you want to be with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I was picturing too when you were talking about like the more classic designs and um like for cider and wine, some of them using the clear bottles where it really like showcases
The
the
color.
yeah, the color of the beverage and like can really incorporate that into the brand and design, which I really like
Hmm.
from the design standpoint.
Hmm. But then
Mhm.
with a can, you can get these like really cool like finishes and varnishes that totally, envelop the can, or the different like matte finishes. I've seen them like,
Mm.
yeah,
Mhm.
there's there's lots of different options out there. So I don't think anyone is superior per se, but it's definitely, I mean, if you have a beautifully colored beverage, putting it
Right.
in a can to show that, or putting it in a bottle to show that off.
Right.
And
So
and
maybe making that like conscious decision when you're considering your design, like
or
that's
how
the format you
like
want.
totally, like if you've got a special edition brew, for example, and you do like a wax dip that's matched to the color of the label or something like that, I think I think it all plays into how you want the customer to perceive it as well. You know,
Okay.
if it's like a more expensive bottle, or you want it to be approachable, like a standard lager sort of thing, you might not put those in bottles
Right.
necessarily.
Keep it more casual.
Hmm.
Right. Okay. Well, I guess one of the main focuses of our discussion tonight is the Canada Beer Cup, which when I did your little two sentences, I didn't even gloat brag about you being the head judge of the newly developed packaging awards for the Canada
Yeah.
Beer Cup this year. So that's amazing. We're gonna kind of focus in on that now, unless you have anything else to add just on the general topic. Um, yeah, I'd be happy to kind of learn a little bit more about your role as a head judge, kind of what I guess you can start with the Canada Beer Cup. Maybe in case anyone isn't familiar with the competition, what makes it unique? Maybe just tell us a little bit about it, and then kind of how you got involved and where you're at now with this new packaging award.
Well, I'm so excited. So Canada Beer Cup is a national competition. It's a nonprofit for the brewers. So it is, I can't remember if this is its third year or its fourth year. I should know that, but I don't. But I think it's its third year. And so every year, the cup, they they work to come up with something new and exciting. So they're never keeping the awards stagnant. They're always working towards something different, something new. And this year, they chose packaging as the direction they wanted to go in. So I'm lucky enough to have worked with one of the other head judges, Dave Cole. He actually organizes the Prairie Beer Awards here in Manitoba. So Prairie Beer Awards focuses on beers from Manitoba and Saskatchewan. So a few years ago, he asked me when he was starting that one up. We do our beer nights, and he got me into the beer industry in the beginning. I call him my beer dad. So we would do beer nights, and I'd always be looking at the labels. And so as he was talking about getting the Prairie Beer Awards going, he asked me if I would consider doing a label component for his competition. So I just did my third year of that with him, and because of that, the Canada Beer Cup also reached out and explained and shared that they wanted to bring on this new category, and asked if I would be willing to help. So here I am. So I'm super excited. What's different from the Prairie Beer Awards is that the Canada Beer Cup has 4 categories of packaging that they're open to entries for, and entries are still open this week until the end of the week, so they close on June 28th. And so with the Canada Beer Cup, there is a single, there is a series, there is a collaboration, and an innovation category. So 4 of them total. What can I tell you? Yeah, that's where we're at right now. It's all digital. They don't. So with competitions, typically, as you know, you have to send actually your physical beer sample in. With this, it's completely digital. So I'm actually in the process of putting together right now the criteria, like kind of the instruction guide to what breweries need to do to submit their entries following the entry deadline, which will be just really simple photos. I'm taking everything with my iPhone so that I know that everyone can do it themselves too. Yeah, so it's really exciting, and it's really an easy submission that way, we think, to not have to send in physical samples for this one. So with that, it has allowed me to put together a team of judges I'm super excited about from all across Canada and one in the States. So I've got a range of judges, I think 16 maybe now. I think
Oh,
we're up
wow.
to 16.
Wow, impressive.
From everywhere from BC to the East Coast, and one from Denver, Colorado, who I'm really excited about. Um, oh, she's worked with companies like Hallmark and Adobe and all sorts of really high profile clients that we're really excited to have her on the team.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I saw some of the announcements about the judges go out on their social media this week. So
Mhm.
will everybody, all 16 of the packaging judges be judging like across every category, or is it going to be kind of divided? A few
Yeah.
judges will take on each of the 4 different categories then?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I am currently working on I've pretty much got, I think, my categories determined, who's doing what, um, based on um, just sort of the judging back, like each judge's background and the category itself. So the series from the entries we've had so far looks to have the most entries. So what we're going to do with the series or it's not the series, or the single cam. So what we're going to do there is have an initial panel of judges. There's a criteria for each award, which is typography, color, shelf presence, creativity, and I think layout. Yes, those are the five. So with that category in particular, all of the judges for that category will evaluate the designs that are submitted, and then a final panel of 5 judges separate from those will determine the 10 finalists and who is the award-winning designs.
Cool.
Yeah.
I gotta imagine there'll be good turnout for this. There's just like people put so much into their branding and marketing and are like so proud about it. I would think
Yeah.
people would be
It's
excited about this.
yes, it looks like there's a lot of excitement, and we're super excited. We were excited right off the bat when early bird entries opened, and we saw
Mm.
within those first couple days that there were already packaging submissions. It's true, there so many breweries invest in the design and the branding and all of the work that goes into the label. I've talked to a few um, myself where, like, when you put the dollars and cents together, more dollars go into the label in some cases than the beer itself. Um, so it's interesting. Yeah, it's really great to see the interest in it, and it's great to see people being proud of what they put together.
So do you think will the packaging awards component of the Canada Beer Cup be a component that sticks with the competition, or because you mentioned they're kind of coming up with new ideas year to year,
Oh, I
is
hope
this going to be a one-off, or the idea is to continue it
I
moving
hope they
forward?
continue it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the idea is that they continue it. It's again, the Canada Beer Cup is nonprofit, so it's a really it's a really great revenue generating category when there's no shipping costs involved. There's no, like, the judges were all meeting virtually,
Okay.
which is really nice. So the photos that breweries take will be sent to the judges for each category. And so um yeah, and every year breweries put new designs together, or
Mhm.
um maybe they didn't realize this category existed last year. I know that's happened with the Prairie Beer Awards, where we always get some new ones every year. So definitely the plan is to keep it going. Mhm.
Fun. Okay. Let me see here. So I guess you kind of already spoke a bit about what it is like being a head judge. Do you have any advice for other people who might be interested in getting into judging at beer competitions? I guess when it comes to packaging or even the other types of judging.
Yeah, the actual, like, palette required.
Yeah.
You know what? I can only speak for well, I guess I've seen Dave, as I mentioned, kind of move up the ranks and just put himself out there, be open to travel, be open to, like, the flexibility to be able to do it is really great. Um, I know that he works really hard to try to free up more time in his summer and to be able to go to these competitions and to just constantly be trying things and working on his palette and um, improving.
Mhm.
And so, but when it comes to design, all I could, like, it just, if you're interested in it, you don't need to. you don't need to love beer per se to even get into it if you love design. And it's just like but it's just so much fun. Like it's just I as a designer, oh, my peers and I laugh all the time. How like you can't go to a restaurant without like assessing the menu or noticing things about it, or certain signs or logos. Like your vision as a designer is just a little bit different as you go through life and observe things. So for me to be able to be doing this, and now for two competitions, it's just like a dream, like to just kind of have this thing that I love doing anyway, going, wandering around and observing or appreciating good design on a can as I'm about to consume it. Um, it's yeah, it's just really fun to get to do. So if anyone out there is interested in doing it, um, just look for the competitions, really. We're open to putting people on a list for next year for judging. That's how we ended up with 16 this year. I couldn't say no to the amazing, like some of the amazing um entry like applications that we have. Um we have the agency daughter does establishment and cabin and annex in Alberta. She's one of our judges. Um, we have Lundy, who's on the call with us. I see her name there. So she is going to join us as well as a judge. Um, who do we have? From the West Coast, we have a couple women who have been very much involved in cider competitions and in brewery magazines or brewing magazines. So really excited about them. Um, we have such a great range. We have a wonderful designer, Heather from Thunder Bay, that has done incredible work. I've got three peers here from Winnipeg that work for agencies of their own, or not of their own, but they work for agencies as well, creative directors and art directors. We have Steve, who owns a beer boutique here in the city. So like hundreds of SKUs that he sees come in, day out. So if anyone's familiar with labels, it's him. So just such a diverse group of creatives. I'm so excited. We couldn't say no. So if anyone's interested in joining for next year, I'm definitely starting my list.
Oh, that's great. That sounds like yeah, such a talented group of judges to be working with.
I'm really excited. It's been a huge perk.
So your submissions are due soon, you said.
Yes, submissions
Um,
are due Friday is
and
the
then you kind of ramp up your judging, get right into it.
so entries are due Friday. So that's the, registering for them. So then in August is
Okay.
when the submissions need to come in.
Mhm.
So submissions will come in August. I can't remember the exact date right now. I want to say the third week, but I could be wrong. Um, so submissions come in August, and then I gather everything up on my part and distribute everything to the judges. So judging will take place for my judges the first week of September. It is different than the physical beer judging. We wanted to make sure they were just separate so that there was support needed by the organizers. So I'll do mine first. And then, yeah, then everything gets determined virtually. And then I'm heading to the awards in person in New Westminster, BC, in October 18th, I think is the award date. I should know that because I just booked my flight, but
Oh, great. Yeah, just have gotten back from your Missy Elliott concert and back out
I
you
know. I'm
go.
so excited.
Can't get enough of BC.
I know,
Nice.
I'm out there a lot.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. Well, okay. So I was, yeah, I guess that was all the questions from my end. I did have one that was submitted. Is there anything else you want to add just about the Canada Beer Cup? I think you kind of covered about if anyone wants to submit a product, how they go about doing that. So that's great.
Yeah, I think there's so much info. Every piece of information that's needed is on the Canada Beer Cup website, as well
Mhm.
as registration and entering. Um, so if you're interested, 100% go to the Canada Beer Cup website, and everything you need to know is there.
I've been thinking about I saw the Sasquatch kind of feature category.
Mhm.
And my work does a nice amber ale with a lot of Sasquatch in it. So I was like, maybe we will. So
Can't go wrong with an amber.
yeah, exactly. Okay, so I'll just read out this question, and then if anybody else on the chat has anything, we can do that afterwards. So this one was, have you found it difficult to be a woman in a male-dominated industry, both beer and design? How have you overcome those challenges? And do you have advice for other women who might face similar obstacles?
Ooh. Um, so as far as being in the beer industry, like I have to, be honest in that I'm not in the beer industry the same way that other women are. So I've been supported and have a great partner in Dave, who always gives credit where credit is due and respects my knowledge and talents and what I bring to the table, and is a really great collaborator. So um, I'm I'm lucky to have him on my side for sure. Um, as far as my own industry, again, like I don't know that it's I don't I yeah, from speaking from a local perspective, I can't say that the design industry is male dominated, which I think is really wonderful. But I don't know. I off the top of my head, I think I'm again, maybe I've had a charmed career, but I've been so lucky right from the get-go to even just being in college. And I worked with part of the program that I did has a design placement and a mentorship program. And the design communities I got involved with were all female based. So I've seen strong women through my career, um, leading agencies, owning agencies. My golf partner that I play with every Thursday is a part owner of the agency she runs. Um, and and the VPs and the presidents and various people that I worked with, and the women's fashion clothing, the women's fashion brand was so female focused. Um, I've been incredibly lucky to have strong female guidance throughout my career, and I work to do what they did for me for other women up and coming in the industry too, where I can, whether it's offering mentorship guidance, support, um, and yeah, that's I think, I mean, I've been lucky. I've been lucky by who I've been surrounded with. But once I find them, they kind of have to stick with me. I don't let them go either. Um,
Yeah.
but it's the mutual support and everything. And if that's I would say that's been a big factor in my career, is that mutual support of each other. So I just, with the peers I've had, we haven't really let men take the lead. So just stand your ground, do it, and support each other's wins, and be a support when a win might not happen, but encourage them to get back up and try again, and that they can do it.
That's awesome. Maybe I'll become a designer.
I
Sounds
mean,
wonderful over there. so great. No, having that crew is like everything.
It is. Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah, even my college class, I have to say, like, um, we just had such a great crew. There's, a group of women I see regularly that we all went to college together. We worked together. Um, One of my former bosses, from the jewelry company is still a close mentor of mine, and every time I'm thinking about making a big shift, she's the one who I call, talk it through. Um, yeah, know your tribe, know your people.
Mhm. Yeah, great. Does anyone else have any questions for Amber? Yeah. Hi, Pam.
Pick me, pick me.
Go for it.
I'm just thrilled because Amber, I've not met you yet, but I am actually in my office in Eli. So I'm just down the road from you, and I was like, I looked you up on the pink boots thing, and I'm like, another one? There's another one of me in Manitoba? Amazing. So I don't have a brewery, but I do have a malt house that I'm about to launch with my
Amazing.
spouse. And I just find it interesting that you had such a positive tone on your marketing background, and I'm like, that's great, that's amazing. How do we get more support for women and others in the brewery side, in specifically our neck of the woods here in Manitoba? Because yes, I as in Lundy may be able to help on that on the stats, but I'm the only Pink Boots member in Manitoba.
Oh,
And
wow.
how is this possible? Um, and I know there's women, I know there's breweries in Manitoba that are solely women owned. I know it has been falling on me in the sense of I am the ambassador. And I just haven't had the chance to get out and to do a lot of handshaking and everything because I'm kind of busy trying to launch this.
Mhm.
And a toddler. I was pregnant in there, so
That's a
you know,
little like that's a thing. That's
kind of one of those things. Can't really do the both.
no.
But anyways, I'd love to hear your thoughts on um, having women be seen more in women and non-binary in the beer industry, perhaps on the prairies where for some reason we aren't recognized as much. So just
Rude.
curious.
Right? I wish I had a really good answer for this, to be honest. Um, I would, as I can only, I think, compare it to when I branched out on my own, away from corporate working and now doing my own thing here. Um, I networked. I networked a ton. I was exhausted. I'm gonna be honest. Uh, so I I went to there's some really wonderful communities with like the Winnipeg Women's Group and uh my brain is not cooperating right now and thinking of some of the other ones, um but a really great friend of mine organized Camp Rover in April. It was a conference for creatives specifically, but it wasn't. Mm, it was creative, but it wasn't industry specific. It was just if you had a creative mind and you wanted to be inspired for a day. It was a beautiful, beautiful day. So I would say networking and just getting out there. I know I have a good friend of mine who owns Brat Cat Mead, and she is all over the place, that girl, and just hustling. And I think that's the best that's the best we can do. We can get to these networking events. I didn't, I'd love to see more people attend even the Prairie Beer Awards. Just, it's an open event. You don't need to have a beer competing to attend. It's just out there to celebrate good beer, whether, no matter who brews it. So beer, cider, mead, all of the different categories. So networking was a huge tool for me as I was branching out on my own. And some marketing. Some marketing always helps. Um, but networking was a huge tool for me. I have met some incredible people who now, support and provide. We're each other's hype girls. They're independent business owners as well and doing their thing, and we're hyping each other up all the time. Networking is a huge asset for sure. So whether it's beer events or non-beer events, I think different walks of life completely at these events, from bankers to marketers to independent nurses to event planners and photographers, and not just the creative field, but realtors. There's so many women out there looking to connect. That would be what I'd say.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. Networking is, I've done a lot of it in Ottawa, trying to get the women of the industry together. And yeah, it's been so helpful for me to just have people in different companies that I am able to call on when I'm like stuck with something, and just ask for help and get advice, and sharing knowledge and skills. It's been really, really great, but it can be challenging. It's a lot of work, like you said.
It's tiring. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
There was
It's very rewarding. It's so worth it.
rewarding. Just know your boundaries. That's all I can say is, around the holidays, like I mentioned earlier, I love the holidays, but any networking events that happen for me in like November and December are really, they got to be a big sell to get to, because it's a busy time of year. So
Mhm.
my social cup gets a little too full too fast.
When are the Prairie Awards?
The Prairie Beer Awards just happened a month ago.
Oh,
So
okay.
the awards were on May 31st. They were hosted at Finn McCool's on Grant Avenue here in Winnipeg. But the Prairie Beer Awards entries start usually beginning of March and run through till right at the beginning of May, and then judging and everything happens pretty quickly for that one, and then the awards happen. So yeah, it's the beginning of the year one.
Serena has a question. I see a hand, but I don't know what to do with it. Go ahead. Oh, there you go.
Thank you, Kaley. Thank you so much, Amber. It's been really interesting listening to all of the different things that that are taken into account when entering some of these awards. One thing I'm wondering though, for a lot of these awards, for like beer tasting, they're blind tastings, so that you don't know what brewery that these beers come from, so that you aren't biased in terms of choosing which beer you like. How do you remove that bias when you're looking at can labels? Because I am like you. I pick beers based on can labels, and I just moved from Alberta, Ontario, and I go into stores and I don't know a lot of the breweries. So I go in and I just solely pick beers based on what the cans look like, and then you get to know the can labels. So I'm just wondering how you remove that bias for the judges.
One, I love the science behind your beer picking and I support it. Two, that is a very good question. So when that was actually discussed early on when we were establishing the categories. So one of the questions that get asked to judges for their application is if they have associations with breweries already. So if any judges do, they will not be judging that beer in their category, if that makes sense, I think. So we're trying to avoid the bias. We can't cover up the logo, because there's just such a familiarity there. But I do think when it comes to design, there's such a varied opinion in general. So I know I can speak for myself in the judging that I've done for the Prairie Beer Awards. I know I like certain beers maybe better from one brewery or over another, but the variety of judges in each category has a minimum of 3 judges. So I think that really allows for varied design preferences as well, because one designer might like something and another designer might not like that same thing, right? So, and there's a criteria, and I think there's a fair criteria in terms of it's fair and it's clear, and it really helps to put things into perspective. And where we have a category like that single can that I mentioned that definitely has the most entries, that's where we're then bringing in that second tier of finalist judges that will, talk and discuss amongst the team as far as based on that criteria, which ones are gold, silver, and bronze. So I think that will eliminate any bias, or if there ends up being slight bias, that it's negated because of the number of judges in each category. But we've done our diligence truly thoroughly to try to avoid it if we can.
Thank you. I have one other question.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
What do you think about like brand recognition in the terms of like all cans from one brewery looking like very similar? So like some breweries do that where you see the can and you know it's that brewery because it looks like every other can from that brewery. And then you have other breweries that maybe aren't like that. Do you think one is better than the other, or what would you suggest coming from your standpoint on when you do design cans? What is better for you as well as like the consumer and obviously the brewery?
I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to do it. I'll start by saying that. I think it is whatever your brand makes it. So I know exactly what you're talking about. There's definitely 2 ways about it. And I would say that there's benefits. I think there's benefits to both. I think, and it depends. It comes down to the brand and what the brand wants to do and what the brand sees as a vision. So it can end up, because as a brand, it can end up getting you in trouble a little bit too when you're out of colors or the spectrum, or you're naming your beers all a certain way, and then it's like, oh crap, we're like 3 years into this, and what's another name that fits into this series, right? So then you see them starting to branch off a little bit, but I think brand recognition is important, and it is one of the layout is actually one of the category criteria that we use as far as like eye flow and organization of the information. So even if it doesn't look even if it's not one of those breweries that every single beer they put out looks consistent with their other cans, that it's easy to find the logo on the can to know that it is the brewery you like or the type of beer, like that the information is clear and organized. So I don't think I have a preference either way, to be honest. I think that's why the Canada Beer Cup actually really liked me, because I don't I can see the benefits of both. But I think brand recognition is important. But I think there's a lot of people out there that also pick their beer the same way that you and I do, Serena, and in just something that looks good. So, and I think a series is a really great way to, if you have a regular style of beer that you are constantly releasing new versions of, say a sour series is the quickest example that comes to mind. You know, a brewery has an opportunity to maybe make that a continued consistent look and feel, whereas it still gives them the flexibility to explore other design options for different styles of beer and one-offs. So I don't think there's a right or wrong way, but yeah, I guess I'm kind of impartial, but I like them both for different reasons. And that is a very non-answer. I'm sorry.
Great, thank you. Any last questions? All good. All right then, Amber, anything else?
No, thanks everybody for joining. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for spending some time explaining your marketing and design background and what you're doing with the Canada Beer Cup. It's all so interesting to learn about, especially for me, like just, knowing so little about the design world. It's really so interesting. Good luck with the judging
Thank
this
you so
summer.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you everybody for joining. It was really fun.
All right. Good night,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank
Good-
you.
Bye. Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.